Welcome and thank you for riding the transcendental waves of freedom with us. I'm Jeff Bailey.
And I'm Michael Burrows. Today we're going to talk about why is the United States so depressed. One of our last episodes, we were talking about the ranking of depression in countries, and the United States is ranked number one. So, I just went on my phone and on Google and went, why is the United States so depressed? And modern populations are increasingly overfed, malnourished, sedentary, sunlight deficient, sleep deprived, and socially isolated. And I was like, wow, that's true for a lot of things. But those say what contributes to depression, but it seems like those things would just be generalized anywhere. Why are they so much worse in the United States, do you think?
I mean, the whole, sedentary. We also looked up like stats. I mean, we're pretty high up there as far as like obesity, so that kind of slows us down. I think lately, everything's just been so divisive. And just the way our lifestyle is, everybody just stays at home, doesn't really do much anything. You don't go outside and play, don't do anything. Not moving around. There's little sayings about like, if your depression can't hit a moving target type thing, which is, a lot of those things have a lot of truth to them. And we're just, I don't know, man. I think America kind of promotes that sedentary lifestyle.
It does. I mean, I used to enjoy going out, um, but now it's like the more, it's hard to find people to go out and relate to. The older I get, the more things I learn, the more travel experiences I have. Um, it's just people aren't as relatable anymore here where I live.
I guess I was going to say I didn't quit going out. I just quit going out where a lot of the people are, going nature hikes and stuff like that. When you're saying travel, dude, just go places out in nature, really. Just and that has been a big thing for me and getting. I think the whole like not relating with people. I don't know, man. That was it fed into my quote unquote depression and just like getting out in nature and realizing that a lot of the stuff that we put pressure on ourselves when we're in like these big groups is pointless, really.
Yeah, like yeah, the pressure. I used to want to go be. I am less depressed now, and I see people. I go and do things probably less than I used to, but a lot of times I found out if you go out, there's a lot of bad energy out there. And if you're on one wavelength and everyone else is on a different wavelength, they'll just bring you down. On the flip side, if you're the depressed person, if you're going out, everyone else's wavelength's higher than yours, it's going to bring you up. You know.
Well, I think that misery loves company type thing is like a big thing in America too, where we're in such a heavy competition and we're like constantly trying to drag each other down to feel better about yourself. Like we have like all kinds of sayings with like competing with the Joneses and like just doing stuff like that where it's always. I had a dude like describe it to me one day as like we're all like crawfish in a bucket and you don't even have to put a lid on a bucket of crawfish because like they'll never work together to escape the bucket. Every time one of them's climbing out, the other ones are going to grab the bottom and pull them down back in with the rest of them. And it's like anytime somebody sees somebody else doing better, it's like we're all envious and resentful. And so like America, like the whole like capitalism society is just like created that to where we're just like
And these people do it without knowing it.
yeah, we're
Almost.
constantly stirred up and
We're not.
fighting each other
We're
without
not.
even knowing it.
We would never go tell somebody, yeah, we're the crawfish pulling the other crawfish out of the bucket when they're getting to freedom. But we do it all the time.
Well,
And
no, it's like subconscious things where when somebody's like going out to take, try to leap out and grab their dream, and the parents are just like, well, the safe thing to do is just do this, or, the safe thing to do is to just do this. Let's just do what everybody
or
else is always.
statistically, you
Yeah,
should do this. Or
everybody else always does this, so this is what we should do. Like, and it's just like those are the little crawfish things that we do. It's not like it isn't a conscious effort to keep people down. We're trained to like subconsciously not think people are capable of going above and beyond.
And if they do go above and beyond, sometimes we label that as scary, or there's consequences to it.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah.
Right? There's consequences of hell and damnation if you go outside that barrel. But I found also that being with the right people gives you that feeling of wholeness that I once craved. And, I was always searching for that. It's like finding your tribe. It took me 30 something years to find that, but
I guess the core of like depression is like a separation from like relationships anyway. So like you're right. Like I think that like it's not about just like I mean some people can go out and just be by themselves in nature. I think being outside in sunlight and nature is one of the most important things of like curing depression, but I mean cultivating positive relationships with people who breed positivity into your life instead of constant conflict and anxiety and their own depression. And it's not that we don't have our own things to heal from. It's just like
now
knowing you need to heal and being a victim are two different things.
oh yeah, absolutely they are. You know, how many times do kids just run away from their parents' house? Why do they think they do that? It's because they're not getting that love and support they need. They have identified that their parents are those crawfish that are pulling them back and not supporting them in the things.
Dude, that's where we subconsciously do it the most. I think is when people are raising kids, they think they're protecting them by making them be like, okay, well, I figured out a way to be safe in this world, so this is what I'm going to need you to do to be safe in this world too. And it's not even on purpose, but we're just clipping kids' wings and keeping them from ever learning who they really are.
Oh yeah,
I
I
mean, I
see it
think
all the
that
time.
like depression in this country like starts and it's getting worse and worse among young people like because of I think the way the school system works trapping kids inside under blue under these fluorescent lights for 8 hours a day not letting them go outside putting them on medications they think there's something wrong with them from day one and then by the time they're put out into the world as an adult they're already told this and that and on the like so used to taking medicines that being put on another depression medicine instead of being put on like a better diet and exercise. I think it's just such a normal thing. We see like I mean school shooting rankings and like the way I mean those are like argued, but I mean America has like 50 times the rest of the world put together and it's
Right. That's just one of those things you can visibly see the scars and disease of depression. Just shootings like that, and it's not just mass shootings, man. Just shootings, period.
violent crimes in general like are not done by happy healthy people.
No, and they're not done in happy, healthy countries.
No.
I was looking at what is the most depressed city in America. I forget that one is in Montana. The second most depressed city in the whole United States is in Tennessee, Kingsport, Tennessee.
That's East Tennessee.
Like, I always knew this state, okay. In the past few years, I have seen how this state sucks compared to many other states in this country. But I haven't looked at the state's ranking in depression. But one of our cities is the number 2 most depressed state in the whole country. I'm telling you, young people in this state have got to start doing more because these old people ain't doing shit except hurting you and keeping you down.
I mean, I do think the way we look at depression in this country too is another reason why it's just getting worse and worse is because we don't ever look to cure symptoms of depression. We're constantly just like throwing pills at it, masking it, and just pretending like it's just like a
Not
normal part of society. Like this is just a normal like
and there's not just masking it with prescription pills. I mean, we're masking it with Jesus too.
oh, all kinds of stuff. I mean, we distract ourselves constantly just to get
Right, or video games, right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff out there. I mean, that we're doing to mask it, but I mean,
Eating.
what I'm saying is we're pretending like it's just like a natural consequence of the way society interacts and not thinking that's an issue. That
Right, we
like
think it's normal, don't we? Is that kind of what you're saying?
yeah, like that no matter what, all societies produce this level of depression because I mean a successful society. We claim to be a very successful society, a model of what the rest of the world should
So
do.
we think everyone's as good or better than us. So if it sucks this much for us, man, the other places it's probably sucking even worse.
Yeah, right. But I mean, that's what I'm saying.
But
Like,
it's not that way, is it?
no, and depression is like mental illness in general. Like, is we don't we don't look at it as something that is like a cause or I mean an effect of like our society. We just think it's like a natural thing, but we're not looking at it as like the rates at which we get these things compared to other places in the world, and then thinking like maybe the way we live is causing some of this stuff.
Dude, I just saw this study that was been done and showing that it has now been shown scientifically that the serotonin antidepressant pills that were supposed to help depression actually aren't like the serotonin is not affecting depression
Is
at
that
all. Yeah, the
SSRIs?
SSRI pills they're not
They're
doing
mostly
anything.
placebo. Yeah, I know that.
And when all that starts really coming out, I mean, it's just gonna people are
It's
gonna look up.
crazy though. They're mostly placebo for the effect that they're supposed to work for, but they still have a lot of side effects. It's not like they're most it's like a sugar pill and it's not doing anything to your body. It's doing stuff to your body. It just doesn't really work for depression.
Right, it's doing a bunch of bad shit.
Yeah,
Oh man,
only does bad stuff.
and that's just it's gonna come out more. Just like those opioids and now the coronavirus stuff. It's just weird how people go along with the flow and think it's gonna be all right. Just anything to get over depression. Not doing research. And how many times do you see people doing the same stuff over and over? How many times do you see depressed people asking other depressed people for advice? That's what gets me the most, dude. I'll be at family gatherings and like I'll have one family member like asking the other family member who let's just say they're both not living life the most healthiest and optimistically possible, asking that person for advice. And it's just like it's weird. It's almost like depressed people are afraid to ask like healthy people for it. They always go and ask someone who's like bad off too. Like I'm gonna go ask my friend. They're bad off too, so I won't feel so bad, asking him. Or maybe just deep down they just don't really want to get to that.
I
It's
guess
just
that's what I was gonna say. Is I think that was like zeroes back to that misery loves company. It's kind of both like they know that they can share their story and be like, well, I'm a little bit embarrassed about this, but we're both going through it, and we'll find it out one day, type
right.
thing. And it's just like
You talk to a healthy person, they're gonna say, "Oh no, this is
this
what you
is
need
what
to
you
do."
got to do if you want
And
to
if you
do.
don't, it ain't gonna happen. And yeah,
And that's the thing. It's like really like the quote unquote cure for depression. And I'm no medical doctor or therapist, but it's just like exercise, eat right, and I mean just be active. And once you're moving and doing stuff, I mean the trouble just kind of melts away. Like depression is sitting there in misery and just worrying about what used to be or what should be instead of just living in the now. I don't. I mean,
my depression went away with psychology. When I learned psychology, and I learned that shit. I read the fuck out of it. I watched documentaries. I learned the shit out of it. I almost like I fixed all my fucking depression. But I also go to like then not. I bounced all that shit I learned with my therapist, who was a licensed professional, and now I still do that. And all that, once I was not depressed as much, it was so much easier being active, eating better. Like now, it's just a cycle of goodness, just keeps going and going and going. Because when you're more physically healthy, you are more mentally healthy, and vice versa. It's like a bicycle. Your body's the frame, but your physical health and your mental health are the wheels.
yeah, man. And I just like I thought back. I mean, when the last time I felt like I was depressed and just didn't want to be, I mean, I think about back when I've had suicidal thoughts and just really been down, and like you think about your habits in those times and it's just like a lot of laying around feeling sorry for yourself, eating junk food just to stay alive for periods of time, and like it's just like living off energy drinks for sugar, it, and it's just such a sad state really, like, and it's not necessarily that like we want to do that stuff, but it is like a like I don't know, man. It's one of those things where it's just like you have to choose to stop doing it and like just, I mean, choose to love yourself.
Yeah, you do. And it's a lot of people don't choose that. I see it all the time. People not loving themselves. I mean, and then you see people who may have changed and started loving themselves, but they don't look like they love themselves. So you can't really judge people. But I'm telling you, appearances aren't everything, but they're a lot. Don't judge a book by its cover, but you can get a lot of stuff from the way a book looks, I guess.
I mean, dude, I don't know. Like,
I hate all those things, like, but there's so much truth to them, but yet they're so inhumane, I guess, of ways to look at things.
well, I would just say that, like, the whole like depression and mental illness thing, even among people that look happy, healthy, there's a lot of depressed people out there. I
Absolutely.
mean, I would say that like unhealthy people like are
Well, I think the most depressed people are, middle income suburban,
I was gonna say
housewives.
housewives,
Yep.
yeah, and they it's really hard to look and be like that
Just
person's
depressed. Oh yeah,
yeah,
because
definitely depressed.
dude, I used to be married to one of those people who would do anything for her not to look depressed. And so those people do. There are people out there. If I'm depressed, I'm gonna probably look
Right,
depressed.
dude. There are a lot of people out there right now that are on their like have their like Prozac or Seroquel or whatever prescription to where they like pretend and hold that smile all day, but they just like something inside is eating them alive, and there are people you wouldn't even know about it. And
Yep.
I mean, they might be ones that are even going to the gym and exercising
Oh
and
yeah,
doing that
exactly.
stuff. So it's not 100% like cure all. Some people like there's such pressures in this society to be somebody or not. Some people just like can't ever be happy because they're afraid to be who they know they are supposed to be.
Right. When everyone's telling you, like, just think if you go and read a book and my most depressed time was when I found out Jesus, Christianity was false and Jesus was not the Jesus of the universe. That shit was depressing because everyone I fucking knew believed he was, and I'm like, well, man, I know he's not now. Like, and so then I had to go and find groups outside of my local place, and it's hard. It's just weird. You would think religion isn't supposed. We're always taught, religion doesn't separate people, but if you want to be your true self, it does.
Yeah, it does. I mean, religion is one of the biggest separators in history. I mean, and I do think that like the fracture of connectedness is what leads to depression in a bunch of different ways. I mean, for me, the most depressed I was is I had a relationship falling apart. I was diagnosed with like diabetes, and it was just like, you know, I just felt my life was falling apart. And there was definitely times where I was just like, yeah, I could just take a bunch of this insulin and not have to worry about waking up. And it's just like that is a scary thought, man. To just like, and when you think about that, like I had to think about like when was the last time I was happy, and then just like, all right, yeah, definitely like I had to do some soul searching. But I think there's a lot of different people can be getting bullied. There's a lot of different things that cause this like
You know what's
deep
crazy?
depression. Like,
Some people have never thought about killing themselves, and that's interesting.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, good on you.
yeah,
If
hell
you've
yeah, dude.
never been to that place where you've never thought about killing yourself, like everybody doesn't live that way. And if you can realize that, it's an eye opener to your empathy because a lot of people have thought about it at least one time in their life or at least one season in their life multiple times. That's have you ever thought about that? How
Oh,
some people have never thought about that
I do wonder, like, yeah, how many people,
on
like,
this planet have never thought about killing themselves because this world and their culture and their society and their family and their lives are so fucked up.
that's the thing is like, what percentage of people? Because I mean, dude, I can think back to like even being a little kid, and I wasn't like starving to death or anything, but I mean, getting in fights with my parents and them being divorced, and me just being like, "Oh, the world sucks," blah blah blah. I'm gonna kill myself, but never really like wanting to. But it's just like, I mean, that thought process. It's hard to imagine people never thinking it, and it's just like. I don't know. I guess depression is just like a snowball effect of like not being able to push that feeling away. I guess I don't know. Like we all get defeated in everyday life. Sometimes not everything goes our way. It's
Oh yeah, every day.
every day, and it's just like I mean, a lot of times we just let that stuff snowball so bad, and then instead of having to work through it, I mean, we ask for the antidepressant to get us
Right,
through the
give me
day.
that pill, and yeah, reading my self-help book. Those, self-help books. I started reading a couple of them, and I learned a lot. And I never really read them from Tony Robbins or I guess these big speakers who have paid events. I guess they were all by licensed psychologists, or licensed clinical social workers, not none of those gurus, I guess. And man, did I learn a bunch.
A lot of the self help books I read were through through work, just getting recommended, getting books like that to make you a more personable person, customer service driven. But I mean, to be honest, the whole like, I will say that like, I mean, go if you want to be depressed, go work in the customer service industry. But also, if you want to learn how to like, empathize and deal with people, go work in the customer service industry. It's just like a lot of those books and a lot of the self help things and the positive stay positive mantras. If you like believe them and live them, like will make your life better. I mean, it's just like you have to put yourself in a situation to be able to believe it. Just saying that stuff because other people around you are saying it isn't going to make you happy. You have to be in a position where those things feel true to you.
Yeah, when I was in the army, the drill sergeant said, false motivation is still motivation. So when you're tired, suck it up and act motivated, and you'll get through it better. And it's almost like if you wake up and do those affirmations and do those mantras and say your prayers and stuff, your meditations, your life should be at least a little bit better. I mean, call it a placebo effect, call it, your prayer, call it vibrations into the universe. If you just say that stuff, it should have somewhat of a positive effect on you, don't you think?
The universe gives you what you are, not what you want.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean,
You got to habits take slow time, So, I have this gym I go to, and people come and like, well, how do you get in this habit? I'm like, listen, if you just come here and park in that parking lot for a minute and drive home, you are getting that habit of getting your ass off the couch to the gym and back. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. Like that is you're on the right path if you're just doing that. Now, if you stay at home, yeah, you're a fat, lazy person, yeah. But it's little steps, little steps.
yeah, I mean, and eventually I mean, you, you do, you become
Yeah,
you become
eventually
that
become.
person. Like, okay, so like that's the whole thing is like you have to be able to imagine yourself as the person you want to become and start living the life
You
that
have
that
to.
person
I
would
think
live.
that's where the fake it till you make it statement comes in. And like as cliche and stupid as it sounds, you do have to start living like the person you want to be.
See, but it's to me, it's like I guess that's what it is. Is like I hate the fake it till you make it and the whole like just like the positive mantras. Just say it until you become it because it's like.
That's the only way to do it.
But no, you just have to be willing to be bad at something.
Oh
You
yeah,
have to be,
exactly.
as you say, you have to believe those things you're saying. You can't just say it and then just live the life where you're just like,
What you been
I
living?
know all this bad shit's gonna happen, even though I've been saying positive rainbow shit every morning. But all this bad stuff's been happening to me, so it's gonna keep happening to me, even though I keep saying these. Like, you have to live and believe it, and be willing to not be perfect immediately, or be what your end goal is immediately. Be willing to be bad at stuff.
Oh
Like,
yeah, when you understand it takes time to learn, it's practice. It's like you got to have a vision and then you just got to practice for it. And every day just practice a little more. If you want to be healthy, you got to do healthy things, and you got to do lots of healthy things, especially if you're not healthy. Like healthy people like me, I could do lots of unhealthy shit and stay healthy. If you're an unhealthy person like you can't do that shit. You got to get your act in order, And then when you get to that spot you want to be, then you can start relaxing and chilling. But you've spent too many years relaxing and chilling, and now you need to start doing things. You know, I had this woman ask me the other day. She said, "Michael, I want to help so many people in this world. Everybody's so depressed, but how do I help them?" It was by your actions. You you lead by your actions. If you start doing the right things, people will notice and people will follow you. They'll follow you. They'll join your tribe. They'll want to spend time with you. They'll want to be around you. They'll ask you for favors. They'll invite you over. I mean, when you just start living that kind of life and changing, people will notice. But they also notice when you say you want to make a change and that shit never happens. Like the boy who cries wolf and all that stuff too. And then you got people that are healthy like us. And when we see, like, how many times are we going to let the same person, in our family or our friend circle or our spouse, say, "I'm trying, I'm going to do the right thing. I want to be there. I'm not there yet. It sucks." Or, "I'm doing the best I can." All right, how many relapses does it take to get to where you're successful? People only have so much energy they can give you. You have a limited amount of time on this planet, and you have a limited amount of energy that you're going to be able to drain from a healthy person before they just cut you off. That's where I'm getting at. So if you have these people that are in your life and you want them to be in your life and they're positive role models, you can surely fuck it up and remove them out of your life if you want to. I've done that with people that I wish would still be in my life now. So I'm just use that and try to get on the right path as soon as possible.
Well, I mean, okay, I guess I when I hear that, I think of something I read in a book about like the power dynamics of people in relationships and how incomplete people are constantly competing over energy, and like in these relationships, it's like if you're not a whole person, and even if you are a whole person, it's so hard to maintain your energy when somebody is constantly trying to drag you down, and it's not the fact that like it's like I have family members that it's like I love you, but I just don't trust you
Oh yeah,
anymore. And there's like there's nothing like I don't think there's anything wrong with healthy boundaries like that if you have people in your life
it's all about boundaries. You're right, Jeff.
that are leeching you. Like there's like you can't fill from a cup from an empty cup.
Just
So if your cup's empty, you can't fill other people's cups, and if somebody's constantly trying to drain from your cup, you're not going to be able to help people the way you're supposed to.
Dude, another thing, like, this is gonna hit almost every one of y'all single people out there. How many times do I see people who have not healed from traumas going into relationships, trying to find people to feel their incompleteness? Instead of doing therapy on themselves and figuring it all out, they want someone to join that journey with them. Like, "Hey, I'm really fucked up. Let me go find another fucked up person, and we can go do our fucked up healing shit together." What is the point in that? I know what the point is. It's not the right choice. It is not going to lead to the best outcomes. And I know you just want that person in your life. You want to feel loved by somebody. I know. It's lonely. It's
A lot of
depressing.
those things are going to end up leading to deeper and worse depression because you're going to be addicted and you're
And,
going to have an unhealthy attachment relationship.
and if you're disagreeing with us, you don't even understand what we're talking about.
I mean, hurt people, healed people, heal people, and that's the whole thing. If you go into relationship as a healed, complete person, you're gonna go. Business, personal, like all relationships.
Yeah, when you're healed, every relationship goes up.
Instead of having a power dynamic where people are competing over energy, it's more of like you cultivate energy and create excess energy for each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Get to
guys,
the point where you have so much extra energy you can give it to someone else. Until then, you do not need to be getting into any romantic relationship. If you want to have friends with benefit, whatever. We all have those animalistic urges and needs, and we want to experience things. I get it, but you can do all that without being tied down to somebody and holding them hostage to you and like pulling them through your journey of shit. Until you're done with your journey of shit.
life is about expression, not repression. It's not about like, you know, not living through these urges. It's about being open and honest with yourself. And I mean, you know, young. So that's it. It's like mastering the shadow. It's not. It's not getting rid of the shadow. I mean, we're gonna have these urges that are.
You know, the shadow self, I think, is a lot with like what the Christians call their animal instincts or their
Yeah, the
animal
carnal
urges.
side.
Yeah, the carnal side. That's your shadow self. So just if you're wondering, that's what it is. Because a lot of people don't know what shadow is and their shadow work is and
Yeah,
stuff
it's
like
your
that.
animalist, your instinct side, like the
Hmm.
side that just like has your impulse driven side.
There's actually scientific human names for it, not just your animal instinct.
But I mean, I think that the repression of that animalistic instinct instead of expressing it in a healthy manner leads to a lot of depression in this country too. Like
Yes.
we're taught through like laws or religion how like that we're meant to like repress these things and not live through them, and then like pushing these things deep down inside, a lot of us end up depressed and anxious, or you know we're we're just driven mad by trying to repress our natural selves instead of being taught healthy ways to express it. I mean, sex is a big one. There's like we have like some violent tendencies in us, like we have these animalistic urges, and we're supposed to be able to like you know exercise. Put your when you exercise strenuously, that helps get rid of a lot of the testosterone for men, and like getting rid of that violent urge or whatever our need to compete, like biologically. I mean, I think that a lot of that stuff is in us, and it's just like finding healthy ways to get rid of it instead of constantly like storing that stuff inside, bottling it up.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at meditation. How good is meditation for depression? How good is meditation for self improvement? You know, how many times in the Bible does Jesus say meditate? Oh my God. People around here don't even know what the damn word is that are older than me. I'm telling you. And they're like, no
And
wonder
if
they're
they
so
do, it's
depressed.
the devil.
And if they do, it's the devil. I mean, I sometimes I feel like I'm living somewhere between the Civil War and 2,000 years ago when they crucified Jesus around here. Like they would crucify Jesus again today around here. I mean, there's just crazy the stuff that goes on. I feel like the South is so far behind, and the depression here is so much deeper than any other part of the country. And what is it from? You know, there's a lot of people out there that will tell you it's mainly from religion, and I haven't seen anything that says otherwise.
I mean, I think that religion is a big part of.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not. We're not saying it's the only part. We're saying it might be the biggest part. It's definitely a big part. If there's a bigger part, we'd love for you to let us know what you think it is too, because we would like to look into that and have that as a topic too.
I mean, I,
Food, I guess that'd be a good one.
yeah, I was gonna say
Poison food
I think poison food. I'm trying to think of like the other countries that were on that list of depressed
and
countries.
pharmaceuticals. You know, those maybe top three.
Yeah, probably like I mean, education is probably like healthcare is probably shitty healthcare. I mean, we don't have the best healthcare system. It's super expensive. A lot of people don't use it because they can't afford it.
I mean, people, a healthcare system. Y'all shouldn't even have to use the healthcare system if you were fucking healthy. You know, so it's so many things to learn. You kind of got to learn in degrees, especially if you've lived your life so blindsided and you've done so much damage to either your physical or mental health. You you couldn't get to where you need to be fast if your life depended on it. You have to get there by degrees. And you can. Everyone can do it. That's the cool thing. You just got to find that tribe of you that's gonna help you get there. There's a lot of people out there that will help you get to where you want to be. Me and Jeff are those people. We'll help you get there anywhere you want to be. Me and Jeff, and promise, one of us have either been there, done there. We can help you.
Dude, share your experience in the comments. Let us know. Like, comment, subscribe. We'd be glad to get back with you guys. We're building a tribe here. Like, come build it with us.
We love you guys.
See you guys.